In the heart of Accra, a tragic love story unfolds, a tale of love, betrayal, and a desperate crime. This is the story of Dr. Agnes Yeboah and her husband, Duah, whose lives intersected in a way that would change everything. Dr. Yeboah, a promising young medical professional, ignored opposition from her parents and secretly got married to Duah. She thought she had found happiness in her marriage to Duah, a man with whom she shared a deep connection. Duah was resident in London, but Dr. Yeboah worked at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Accra, and lived in the houseman's flats at the hospital. Duah returned to Ghana from London on 9th April 1985, ready to reconnect with his wife and child. But what should have been a reunion turned into a nightmare that would end in tragedy. Just days later, on April 12, Agnes was found dead in her room from a single stab wound to her chest. The circumstances surrounding her death were both mysterious and chilling. Duah stood trial for her murder, and the prosecution relied heavily on circumstantial evidence. The details were haunting. Duah was the last person seen with Agnes, and shortly after her death, he confided to his uncle that he had killed her. At the trial, his uncle testified that Duah had come to his house at around 2 a.m. on 12 April 1985 and left some money for the upkeep of his child. Before Duah got back into a taxi he had waiting for him, he had said in Twi, "I have killed Agi." Although his statement to the police had claimed that Dr. Yeboah had stabbed herself to death as a result of the suicide pact between the two of them, he denied in his evidence that he had agreed to any such pact. Medical experts that testified at the trial indicated that the stab wound could not have been self-inflicted. The evidence was in direct conflict with the story of Duah that the injury was self-inflicted by Dr. Yeboah herself. Duah admitted at the trial that he did not seek assistance of any of the doctors in the flat to help save the life of Dr. Yeboah, even though he said he left the knife in the room, it was never found. The violence of the attack indicated a desperate act, and Duah's actions following the incident raised further suspicion. Duah's defense hinged on a narrative of desperation and a mutual decision to end their suffering. Yet the prosecution painted a different picture, one of a husband fleeing the scene and leaving his wife to die. After the hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty of murder. Duah was sentenced to death, condemned for a crime that shook the foundations of love and trust. On appeal by Duah, his counsel contended that since the uncle had indicated or admitted at trial that it was possible that he said Agi is dead rather than I have killed Agi, the statement was inadmissible as a confession. And in any case, since it had been uttered hours after the incident and several miles from the scene, it could not have been part of Res Gestae. The judge, in dismissing the appeal, held that the statement I have killed Agi, made by Duah to his uncle hours after the incident and away from the scene, was deemed inadmissible as Res Gestae due to its timing and distance from the crime scene. However, the court held that the statement was admissible as a voluntary confession. The judge found that the appellant's confession was made freely to a trusted relative at the time when the crime was still undetected. Thus, it was admissible. This is a case that highlights the use of circumstantial evidence to infer guilt beyond reasonable doubt in criminal trial. The case also highlights the confine of the admissibility of a res gestae as an exception to the hearsay